Growing up, I was always envious of the kids who knew exactly what they were going to do. I'm going to be a veterinarian. I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be a lawyer, a police officer, a firefighter. They always knew, and I had no idea. To this day, I'm still not 100% sure I know what I want to do. But that journey, I think, is such a personal one. And today's guest, TarkovReporter, has been through many career changes and has finally found his calling. And I think the important takeaway from this conversation, from this story, is that it's never too late to find what it is you're supposed to do. I hope you enjoy. What's up, chat? PartPanda here. We are back with another podcast, and my guest today is one of my favorite people of all time who has moved on from streaming to bigger and better things, and I'm really excited to kind of see what he's been up to, because it's always kind of been an interesting perspective for me. So without any more to do, Mr. TarkovReporter.
Hey, Panda. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I'm
Yeah,
glad to be here.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, I mentioned that you had moved on from streaming. What, tell everybody what you've been up to now.
For sure. So I've recently finished all my coursework for my master's degree in counseling, and I've started working as a therapist under supervision. I should have my license to practice as a registered clinical counselor in a few months, probably January, realistically.
Wow. Okay. So coming up quick.
Yeah, I've been working pretty hard at that. Something I've wanted to do since, honestly, I've been working towards this since like 2019, maybe even longer ago. And to see it finally come to fruition is really cool for me. And to be actually working with clients right now. And I mean, I obviously can't say much about my work with them, but
Sure. Yeah.
it's really, really like powerful for me, and brings me joy. I love every minute of it. I'm so glad to feel like I'm in the right place in my life finally, because it took me a fucking long time to get there.
I was gonna say, when I met you, you were a streamer. Before that, you were like a legit reporter,
That's right. Yeah.
and so like the career shifts have been drastic for you.
Pretty significant. And there was another, like, I also worked in corporate communications for a period of time after journalism too. So I've been trying to find the right thing for me for a long time, and finally feel like I'm in that place. It's if people are watching, or like struggling with what you do, don't know if you're doing the right thing yet, haven't found that thing for you. Like, I'm in my mid 30s and I'm just finishing school, so you don't have to know what you want to do right out the bat in life. You can get there eventually. So
I was
don't
gonna
worry.
say that's definitely one of those stories that, like, I think there's a lot of people. I think there's a lot, even more people today who just like they're in their 30s and they feel like they're just lost. Like
Mm,
they thought, you know, I'll get it. I'll go to college. I'll get a career. Like that was what they were told. And
right.
then when they didn't, they were like, I don't know what to do
Yeah,
now.
absolutely. And I was there. Like, I had some pretty dark times, like in 2019, not really knowing what I was going to do with my life, and was in a lot of therapy at the time, trying to figure things out. And, um, that therapy eventually led me to becoming a therapist myself. Um, it's something I think that a lot of people should reflect on. And if what you're doing doesn't bring you joy, or if try to figure out what that thing might be for you, because that you might be in your 30s, you might be in your 40s, doesn't matter. There's still plenty of time left in life, especially if you're in your 20s. Like, oh my god, like
Try new things.
absolutely,
Do
absolutely,
not
find
get
out. Yeah,
stuck. Just, try something. If it doesn't work out, you have time.
so much time. Oh my god, I wish I looked at life more like that in my 20s. Um, because I was always like, oh, I need to do this. I need to be married. I need to have kids. I need to get a house. Like all these these random things that life says we should have, these benchmarks where we should be in our lives. And those things made me super anxious thinking about how am I going to do this? How am I going to accomplish this? And like, it doesn't matter. Like, you know, who are you competing against in this? Like, just try to find what's right for you and what brings you joy and how you can build the best life for yourself. Doesn't matter what
Yeah.
that is.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. I like that.
Yeah,
So, um, in terms of your work, obviously it's sensitive. There's not a lot you can say about it, but do you have like an area of study or specialization that you enjoy?
definitely. I want to work with couples mostly. I started out my education not wanting to ever work with a couple in my entire. I never wanted to see a couple in my work ever, and a few things changed my perspective on that. Um, like obviously, I took a course on couples therapy in my master's degree, and that course was really illuminating for me, and just seeing how like I didn't really understand what it would be like in the room until I started studying it specifically. And it's just so powerful to see two people who love and care about each other, but for the life of them can't communicate or just can't figure out how to get through conflicts together. And finally helping them get to a place where they can discuss their needs and meet each other where they are. That is so powerful. I absolutely love that. So I've started working with couples under supervision now, and you know, seeing some of the progress with some of them is it's amazing for me. I love to see how they can go from like literally not being able to communicate with each other to like actually like showing empathy to their partners. It's incredible. I love that. So I would say couples and relationship counseling for individuals as well, mostly be my specialty.
That's awesome. I think that that's such a spectacular thing because it's relationships, romantic relationships are so dynamic
Oh yeah.
and they can be so, explosive and passionate, and finding that way to kind of navigate that, I think, just as individual people is so hard. So
Mhm.
being able to have that perspective, and I know that there's a lot of people who are like, oh, if you go, you go to marriage counseling, that means your marriage is on the rocks and
Yeah.
everything. And there's such a stigma around that.
Totally. You're so right about that. And if I'm being honest, most of the people who come to couples therapy, they come too late. Like you should not be going when like alarms are going off. Like it's maybe too late at that point. You can still do some work to maybe sort things out. But when you should be going to couples therapy is, you know, when there are big changes coming up in your life, like maybe you're having kids or maybe you're thinking about moving in together or you're getting married, these big changes that will definitely have an impact on how you relate to each other and how your relationship will be affected by those changes. So when those things are happening for you, that's the time to start seeing a therapist, even if it's just like here and there, to touch base and learn a little bit about how you can communicate with each other about these big changes that are happening in your life, because those things can be so impactful on your relationship. And uh, I would hesitate to like the stigma. Like I don't know how to remove that. I think it'll come with time. Like we're seeing now younger generations coming up who just see therapy as a natural part of life when
Yeah.
our parents' generation definitely didn't.
Oh, for
So
sure. Yeah.
so
And then
hopefully
you
it'll
you
change.
go home and you're like, yeah, my therapist says, and your parents are like, you're going to see a therapist? It's like, yeah, it's no big deal. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like, calm down.
Yeah.
It's so funny that you say that because, like, so I have a friend who, um, when they got married, they sought out a marriage counselor, or a relationship counselor specifically, and they just call it marriage maintenance. Like,
Yeah.
it's just something that they do, once a month to maintain their marriage, and work on, their relationship together. And I think some of that stigma comes from, like, it comes from, like, a lot of these, like, romantic movies and things like that,
Yeah.
and you have these
Yeah.
expectations of how a relationship should work, and it's like, you know you got to remember that you are human and they are human, and it's never like you might have a movie like moments, but it's never going to be like a movie because you never see, all you see is that romantic kiss at the end. You never see what the relationship is like, 5, 6 years down the line.
Right. Totally. And yeah, I think that a lot of the media representations of therapy in general are fucking awful. Like if for the most part, when you're watching a show where there's a therapist and it's like maybe couples therapy, the two people are going to be just screaming at each other the whole time, or one's going to be completely withdrawn, and
And the therapist just kind of sits there and goes, uh-huh,
yeah,
uh-huh.
like
And how does that make you feel?
it's that's not what therapy is. And or like and the one that like makes me the most angry that I see more representations of therapy in media is like the character is like sleeping with their therapist or something like that. And it's just like,
Yeah.
why is this? Oh my god, that makes me so mad that like
Oh
that's
yeah.
such a common representation of therapy. Like, oh no,
I
this is
know.
bad. This is really bad. But yeah.
That is a funny one because like it's such a trope, and it's like it's not just that. I remember very distinctly. I have friends that have a pool, and I remember my friend coming to me and going, "I don't want to hire a pool boy," and I was like, "Why? You want to do all that maintenance yourself?" And he's like, "I don't want. Like, I don't want to like. You see it in movies." I was like, "It's a movie. What are you talking about?" And so like
That's really a
all of
comparison.
these
Yeah.
jobs get these bad raps. Like this guy's literally coming to work on your. You have somebody that cuts your lawn. Why don't you have somebody that works on your pool? Crazy. It's crazy.
Oh no, we gotta stop that.
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
Um.
couples therapy is fantastic. You can learn great tools, interventions to support you and your partner as you work through conflict, and that's I think like can solve most problems
Yeah.
that people deal with. So yeah.
So what was kind of the catalyst that got you to move in that direction? So I mean, you talked a little bit about you were in therapy. Was that kind of like the turning point for you?
That was something that contributed. There's a lot of things that contributed to why I wanted to make this change in my life, and I think that going to therapy myself just showed me like the how powerful it can be, how impactful it can be, how much of an impact it can have on your life. So, well, I don't think that was like what drew me into it necessarily, but I had a great relationship with my therapist, and I got a lot out of it. So I saw that hey, this can work, this can help people, and I wanted to help people. Um, I I had like a lot of family in my life who I think not push me in this direction, but the model that they set for me in life, like my grandparents, my cousins, my parents, um, they have all been really supportive of me and they have modeled empathy, have modeled um, just I think the values that someone would need to go into therapy. Like I look, I there's a photo of my grandparents I'm looking at right now in the background, and um, on my mom's side, my grandmother was paralyzed for most of my life. She was wheelchair bound, and my grandfather um, would literally just wheel her everywhere they went, like until he was like no longer able to walk himself. Like he was just too old. And like seeing how supportive of her he was, and just how he was there for her every day, and was like her rock up until like they passed on. Like they were just I the I have a hard time really putting into words like how genuine and authentic and just a great person my grandfather was, and my grandmother as well. Like they were a great team, and my grandfather was so selfless in everything he did in life, be it his relationship with his wife or how he treated his kids, his grandkids, everyone in his circle. And I really look back on my relationship with him. I wish I had more time with him. And he, I think, like looking back on it, set me down a path that would eventually get here. Um, he's just a great human being, and I wish he was here to see me take this path in life now.
Well, I think he'd be exceedingly proud of you.
Thank you,
I
man. Yeah.
mean, just based on the way you talk about him and how influential he is clearly to who you are today, I think is really powerful. And I mean the dedication and love that requires um, to be a caretaker for somebody
Yeah.
is huge. I mean, there. I mean, they talk
Especially
about
later in
like,
life, especially
yeah,
later, like he was elderly, like when I was young, and still pushing her around like to the best of his ability, and he would shrug off help from other people too. He wanted to do it. He wanted to be there for his wife. Um, and yeah,
so
I was pretty young at the time, but it was like such an impact on me.
yeah, that's like that's a real model of love for you to have around you, especially. I mean, that's so impactful on young kids.
Mhm.
Like you would be, I mean, having kids of my own, like recognizing, um, I was literally just thinking about this today is like with my son, um, and with my daughter too, but she hasn't started exhibiting this same behavior. But you know, every once in a while, I just kind of, we have I do this thing where I like to kind of be in his space,
Yeah.
um, and kind of show him that affection. So I put my hand on his cheek and I kind of stroke his cheek a little bit and kiss him on the forehead. And now when he lays down at night and I go to like say goodnight to him, he puts his hand on my cheek. So
Oh,
like it's one of those things where
yeah.
like I'm seeing that behavior, that
Yeah.
empathy, and that love that I'm showing him now reflected back at me.
Wow. That's really powerful, man.
Yeah,
That's
so
amazing.
I think having that relate like you having that modeled at such a young age
Yeah,
is massive.
absolutely. Yeah.
Um,
And like beyond my grandfather, like I have a lot of friends who are counselors, and my cousin who was like a sister to me. I'm an only child, but I have one cousin who's been like a sister to me my whole life, and she became a counselor too, and she's always been there for me like that. It's I feel like it's just been this place that I was supposed to go, and I didn't figure it out until much later than I anticipated in life.
I mean, that's definitely one way to look at it. The other way to look at
Yeah,
it is, you needed these experiences to
totally.
guide you to where you needed to be. Because I mean, I'm sure that there is a part of you that's like, man, I wish I would have found this earlier. But then there's got to be a part of you that looks back and goes, I never would have gotten here if I didn't do these other things.
I wouldn't have. I totally wouldn't have. And I'm so grateful for all the opportunities I've had in my life too. Like we talked about, just trying everything, right? Like I was very open to trying things in my 20s, and don't regret it a single second of it. And I loved like 90% of the jobs I had. Um, there were a couple, especially like corporate communications, I really hated because I found them like soul
That
sucking. But
sounds
yeah,
awful. It
it
sounds
was fucking brutal.
truly, it sounds awful.
Yeah, it was fucking brutal. But I loved being a journalist. I loved being a reporter, and I love streaming for the short time I got to do it.
So
Yeah,
let's let's talk about the journalism a little bit because I feel like that leads into where you were at in the streaming community is.
yeah.
So how did you get into journalism?
I was and still am, like a gigantic sports fan when I was in high school, and like I wanted to do anything in my life to just be close to sports, be surrounded by sports in some way. And so like, okay, I'm gonna be a sports reporter. I'm gonna wind up on ESPN one day.
Sure. Yeah.
And yeah, like I'm an ambitious person, so why not, right? But so I went to journalism school after high school, and I got my degree and started. I just started working as a reporter, like right out of school, and had to work in some really small towns. And for the life of me, could not get a sports job. Like the sports jobs were so hard to get because like
Everybody wants one,
everybody
right?
wants one of those,
Right.
and there's
Yeah.
so few of them.
See, the
And
sport food. You got to, yeah, that seems to be the one that I hear about a lot. And like journalism is like, you either want the sports or you want the food. You want to be able to go in and like review the food or whatever.
Sure, those are two of the most fun things, I think.
Yeah.
And so I wound up doing crime and politics, and did
Yikes.
really well at it. Like, actually, like, didn't love it. That didn't love the actual, like. I mean, I loved being in the newsroom, working with my coworkers, and parts of the job I loved. But I loved the team atmosphere in the newsroom, and like shooting the shit with other reporters. Like, that was so fun for me. In most of the cities I worked in, like, there was a strong like media community where like reporters just got together for drinks at the end of the day and like talked about like whatever crime happened, or it was a lot of fun. And
I mean,
I
it's
miss that
it's
part.
an evolution of town gossip,
Yeah,
right? Like you guys got to
totally.
be the ones that
Yeah,
knew everything, and so you guys got to talk about everything that happened.
absolutely. And I really miss that part of it. But I never did wind up like getting like a sports opportunity. But I actually wound up like getting like I became like the editor of a couple of local newspapers at one point, and was really entrenched in that role. Was like hiring and firing people, and like was doing really great in that aspect. Like, felt like I was advancing in my career. But something happened for me that really opened my eyes to where the industry was just at, and that was seeing like a a big chunk of newspapers. So there was a in my hometown, in like the Vancouver area, there were a lot of community newspapers in the various like suburbs and communities and small cities around there. And there was a there were two different media chains that owned most of those newspapers, and they decided that they would trade newspapers in cities where they each owned one, and then the one that they acquired, they would just shut down so they could eliminate the competition in the
Competition.
market. So what that did was completely eliminate like half the media jobs in the area I wanted to live in. I wasn't living in
Jeez.
Vancouver at the time. So my whole goal was to get, because I'm from Vancouver, I wanted to get back here, and I couldn't. That one transaction that like I obviously had no control over, and it had such an impact on my future career prospects, and I was just like, holy crap, what am I going to do? So that's when I decided I was going to try to make a shift into corporate communications, which just became this soul sucking job that I fucking hated so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but it also led me to where we are. I mean, led me into streaming, and led me into counseling too. So I can't hate what happened too much, but
I just can't see you working in a corporate communications position. Like just the like no now knowing your background and how much humanity matters to you,
yeah.
it just like the idea of you working in like a corporate cold community I can't picture it.
Yeah, and like the companies I was working for were like resource extraction companies, and financial firms, and like major construction companies. And I was just like, these very much do not align with my values. What am I doing in my life?
Yeah. And you're having to like defend them and you're like, but I don't want to defend them.
Exactly. Exactly. So that I think was it prompted some really intense internal reflection and led me to where I'm at. So
Yeah.
I can't hate it too much.
So in terms of journalism, do you have a story that you're most proud of? Like you're like, this is kind of the one that I always look back on. I'm like, I really like this is the one.
Oh man, I don't know if this is the one I'm most proud of, but I won an award for investigative reporting about in the town I was living in. There was a bylaw on the books that prohibited strip clubs from being opened in this town.
Sure.
And which, like, yeah, like, okay, like, I
It's
guess
your
that's
community. Like, do
yeah,
what you want with it.
absolutely right. But one day, some entrepreneurial gentlemen from outside of the city decided they would come in and challenge this bylaw so that they could open up a strip club and, of course, make a little coin.
Of all the places
So
you could build it, why pick a place that doesn't allow? Like that's just like such a strange.
yeah, I don't think they knew when they bought the property initially. And then when they wanted to go through the process of applying for a permit for this, all of a sudden discovered, oh shit, there's this bylaw.
Yeah.
Uh,
You thought you would have looked into that beforehand, but hey, this is where we're at.
no, yeah. Don't think they did all their due diligence, but so they challenged the bylaw, and it was this massive debate that took months. And the city council and the people of the town were just like at odds, and there were these just really long and drawn out debates in council meetings. And wow, the people were so mad that the strip club would potentially open up in their town. And like, sure, that's their right as the town
It's their
citizens
town.
to
Yeah.
voice their opinion. And they've lived in this place. They built they've started their families, and maybe this is part of their values. So they expressed their opinions, and of course city council
City council saw green, right? They were like,
they
this is a
sure did. Yeah,
moneymaker.
they sure did. And I think especially due to like the nature of the town, which is kind of like oil and gas based, so kind of like there was a nature of the town where like people would just come through to work and then leave.
Yeah.
So like this is something that might appeal to
Yeah.
people who are just in town for a few weeks to work on a
Somewhere
tour.
to blow your money. Yeah.
Exactly. So I wrote a really like an investigative series about that whole story, and I don't know if it's what I'm most proud of. I would have a hard time thinking about what I'm most proud of. I need more time to think about that, but that story in particular,
Won you
um,
an award?
it did. I actually just something else just came to mind that it's a I wrote an editorial piece at a different job about a school board closing down a school in a smaller community just outside of where we were living. And I had been out to this community a few times for events to see what was going on. And it was really this tight knit community. And the school was such a big part of it. It was like you could see that the school was like embedded in the fabric of the community. And like as an outsider, I could see that. Like it was so important to them to have this school. And the school board one day, to cut costs, decided they would shut it down. Um, and so I did some investigating into the school's budget, or not the school's budget, but yeah, I was looking into the size of the school budget compared to like the school district as a whole budget, and was like comparing some finances that could maybe be cut in other places, and made a case for keeping this school. Now, obviously, like that didn't like I didn't like nothing came of that, but I felt really proud of standing up for this community that really didn't have any like they didn't have any say
Voice.
in this. Yeah,
Yeah.
and um, I felt really bad for those people who now had to like send their kids out of their community to go to a different school when they had loved and cherished the school. And it was such a positive environment. And so that's I think a story that I would be most proud of, even though like nothing came of it. But I was glad that I could stand up for somebody like a smaller community who needed a voice in that situation.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's that is more what I see you doing than working in communication. So
Yeah.
yeah, it makes
Yeah.
more sense. So the reporting, I mean, obviously you go by Tarkov Reporter,
Mm.
and for a while you were one of the like go-to people for I mean, you had a Tarkov news website.
Yeah, which we just like formally shut down this summer because we weren't doing anything with it. but yeah, that was so fun, man. I absolutely love that. Um, I don't know how. I do know, like I can't believe it, I that happened. But one night I was having a couple of cocktails and hanging out a Discord call with some friends playing Tarkov, and sub account 7 pops in, and he's
The
like, "Hey,
bear.
hey, why don't you guys have a website?" And I was like, you know what? That's an amazing idea. And one of my mods, Louis, he was like he had a lot more cocktails than I had, and he was like, "Yeah, this is a fucking great idea." He started buying domain names. He was like signing up for like Squarespace and all this stuff, and he was like, "We're doing this." And the next morning, he wakes up like super hungover. Is like, "What did I do?"
Why do
he
I have
was
all these charges? Why do I own all these things?
he was like, "Wait a minute, did we just buy like we just start a website last night?" And and I was like, and I was like, yeah, I think we did. And we're both just like, wait a minute, this is actually a fucking amazing idea, and we should totally do it. And so we went for it,
Yeah.
and it was so much fun to do that. Like I know there are like some legends in the community who cover Tarkov news, and I don't like put myself on that level with those guys who are still out there crushing it.
You don't have to.
Um,
We as the community do that.
that means a lot, though. Thank you for that. But it was so much fun to be able to do that. And one of like the highlights of it for me was like we started like with a summer wipe. We launched the website, and we were like slowly building and cranking out content on that. And by the time it came around to like the winter wipe, we were really fucking rolling. And the day that wipe dropped, um, the Tarkov website went down for most of like the early hours of the wipe, and I had gotten the patch notes up on the website, and like my take on the patch notes and everything. And Dr. Lupo was looking for patch notes that morning, and he couldn't find them. He's like, "Oh, what's this like off-brand Tarkov website? Let's check that out." And so I'm literally watching Lupo stream Tarkov, and with my website up on it as he's rolling through the the patch notes. And I was a little bit freaking out. That was like that was so cool for me because I like Lupo was what like got me into content creation. Like he and what got me into Tarkov. Like he's so that was kind of like a full circle moment for me where I was like, whoa, that was fucking cool.
It's so funny. So I actually remember this. Like I was in his stream when he pulled your website up. Like, I remember it, and it's one of those moments that I'm just like I don't know why, but it sticks with me as like what a cool thing for somebody to have,
Yeah,
right? Um, the other thing that I think is so like fascinating is how many people are part of this community, not necessarily because of Lupo, but like I literally just did an interview with another creator whose podcast dropped on the 21st of July, and her like I mean she's a huge Lupo fan, and I know that she's going to GCX and
cool.
she is cosplaying as
Oh,
Lupo.
fun. No
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
So like it's so fascinating. And I think that like he as a creator, you know, a lot of people are like, "Oh, he's the, you know, the dad. He's got that dad energy, that dad vibe." And it's just so fascinating to see all of these people who from his community kind of carry that same like standard that he carries in his own stream, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um, and I think that's like a lot of people aspire to that level, not necessarily the level of like, I think there are quite a few people who aspire to that level of like recognition, but I think there's an equal amount of people who aspire to that level of like influence of like, let me put positivity out into the world.
Mm. Yeah.
And so like it's such a like I mean I'll be honest, Dr. Lupo is one of the driving reasons why I became a content creator, because I've been like, it's something that I've always wanted to do. And then as I got older and I started having kids and got married, I was like, is this really something that I can do? And just watching him, you know, have kids and have a kid and be successful and still have that, like, you can tell how much he loves his family. And I
Totally.
think that's
Yeah.
such a powerful thing to showcase.
Yeah, his values are so evident through his streams, the people he surrounds himself with. Like I find myself like very aligned with like his perspective on life. And to see that represented in the streaming world, in a world where there's a lot of people who I wouldn't want to associate myself with. Um, and to see this guy out there, it was I'm so grateful that he does what he does to be a role model for a lot of people out there, because there's a lot of people who should not be fucking role models.
That's true. That's true. I the first time that I ever ran into like Dr. Lupo's name, like I remember reading, like, I think it was like an IGN article or something, and this was back in the Destiny 2 days of the Trial of Osiris, and I remember very distinctly there was a guy who had a terminal illness, and he was just trying to make it to the lighthouse, and there's a bunch of people who rallied around this guy and were like, we're gonna help you get there. And I remember watching this video, and I'm pretty sure it was IGN, because at the time I think that I was a religious IGN reader. Like every day I'd be on IGN. And I remember like watching the video of him, helping this guy get to the lighthouse. And I just thought, like, it cost him nothing. It cost him nothing to just be kind.
Yeah.
And so like that was what, like, I was like, that was the moment where I realized, like, growing up, most people around me didn't really play video games, but that was kind of the moment for me where I was like, look, video games can do good for other people.
Absolutely. And he's shown that in so many ways. The amount of fundraising he does, and just as you mentioned, just the kindness that he shows. And um, I I really respect and admire like everything he's done. Like he's a fucking legend, man.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So, we've kind of talked about where you sat yourself in the community and kind of this cornerstone that you carved out for yourself. And then, moving on from streaming, is there anything that you really miss about either your community specifically or just the, streaming in general?
Oh, so much stuff like this, man. Like I loved setting up co-streams with people and meeting other streamers, and like events like drops or something where you would just like do a 12 or 24-hour thing, and you'd invite out, like you'd play with other streamers, and like that sort of stuff. I just love playing video games with people, man. Like it's such a social thing for me. I've never been someone who wanted to like stream solo all that much. And I definitely miss just hanging out with other cool people, playing games, and my community too. Like we still hang out and play like BattleBit sometimes, and I love
I
that.
love BattleBit.
BattleBit's
It's
so
so
fun.
fun.
Oh man, I love it. Um, but like I do miss like the peak Tarkov, um, by like Friday nights, like just my friends would get on and we'd play until like 2, 3 in the morning. Everybody's having a couple cocktails and you're just having a good time messing around like meme kits or who cares, right? Like,
Right.
I miss those days. I'm so grateful for like all the people I've met. Like most of the people um, who like formed like the core part of my community came from Jenical's community,
I love Jen. I
which
love Jen.
don't even get me started on Jen. Oh my god, Jen had such an impact on me from a content creation standpoint, and I, I've got nothing but love in my heart for Jen. She's such a fantastic person.
She never takes
Um,
herself too seriously, ever.
Definitely. And so I actually learned how to play Tarkov in her Discord. And the people who like would help me learn and who I learned with formed like the core of my eventual community one day. Like we just we just had so much fun playing together, and they were the people who encouraged me to like start a Twitter account, to start a Twitch, to start a website. So I'm grateful for those relationships because if not for like the support and the encouragement of those people, I never would have done any of those things. I I didn't think that I would ever be a streamer or anything like that, but those people, and I want to shout out like my mods, Grim and Louie. Like those two are like just so beyond supportive, and everybody who was ever like in one of my streams, whether you played or watched or lurked or I don't care. Like I'm so grateful to all those people, man. I miss that part. Just people coming in and saying hi that you haven't heard from in a while. Like, like they just pop into the stream and chat with you for a few minutes. Like, oh, that's so cool. I
Yeah.
miss that. Yeah.
That's it's so much fun to just meet people.
Mm.
And I think that you and I are very much the same in that regard of just like, everybody has a story and everybody has like a good time, and everybody has something to contribute. And admittedly, some people shouldn't contribute, but it's neither here nor there. So is there anybody that you keep up with as far as like watching the streams? I mean, obviously in your job now, it's probably a lot harder to catch streams, but
Yeah.
I imagine you have some downtime.
I do have some downtime, and honestly, in my downtime lately, I've been watching a lot of trashy reality television. So,
It's the same thing as streams. It's the same thing.
Basically. So I do feel a little bit bad that I haven't been catching a lot of streams this summer. I've been getting outdoors a lot this summer. I've actually been dating a lot this summer, which has been fun.
Let's go.
Yeah, dude.
Is there a Mrs. Tarkov reporter on the horizon?
Fingers crossed. We'll see. But I've been just meeting people, man, and it's that's been
I'll
fun.
expect an invite. Just whenever it happens, I will expect an invite.
Absolutely, we'll invite the whole. We'll do it live on Twitch.
There we go. I'll carry a camera. I'm good. I'll just
Oh hell yeah!
Won't be much of the wedding. Mostly my fat face, but it's fine.
Oh, I love that. But who have I been catching? I would say, before like this summer I've definitely been taking a break from watching streams, but like before that I would try to catch like a bunch of people when I could, like obviously Genitals, and like I pop into like Will Dez's stream a bunch just to like make fun of him a little bit or meme around and shit. And Winter's Wolf Cry, another great dude who I love to catch like his DayZ streams and stuff when he was doing that. I did play a little bit of DayZ, on the same server he was at. That was a lot of fun.
Damien Sticky too, right?
Yes. Yeah. I would pop into their streams too. Not stream sniping, obviously.
So he says. We have no proof.
Yeah, I guess the burden of proof would be on me. Damn.
Yeah.
Who else? I know I'm missing people. But like V Breezy was also in that server. Bunch of other people were in that server, and that server was a lot of fun. I enjoyed playing on that DayZ server for sure. I watched a lot less Tarkov lately.
This wipe has been lackluster in terms of content, and I think a lot of people were just also like the streams weren't as fun to watch because a lot of people were just dragged, right?
Yes.
And so like the enjoyment of watching somebody play Tarkov is their enjoyment of the wipe, and if their enjoyment of the wipe isn't there, then the enjoyment of watching it, it's hard.
And I think the community wants to be there to, like, the community wants to watch Tarkov, but they're not they're not enjoying the times that they do right now.
Right.
But you can see that when BSG does this dev stream and they've got like tons of viewers watching, the interest is
40,000
there.
people.
Yeah, the interest is there, right? They just they need something to grasp onto.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just not there in this particular moment. Maybe it will be with this upcoming wipe. I'm a little skeptical. Maybe it'll be there with the December wipe. I'm more optimistic about that. Um,
I think it was interesting that they actually laid out like a full wipe
mm,
roadmap, and we
mhm.
know specifically what month wipe is occurring. So,
Yeah, I mean, I would bet there's a little bit of leeway there.
oh, for sure, they're
I'm
gonna say it's gonna get closer to be like it's December 8th. It's December 20th. January 1st. Check in with us.
definitely. Yeah, I could see something like that happening. And maybe they should have gone with more like a seasonal thing, like a winter wipe or something like that.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. I'm glad that they're putting out a roadmap. That's really cool. Good for them. Like I'm optimistic for the game's future. Just right now is like I don't want to play and I don't want to watch it.
Do you think you'll check out arenas?
Oh, totally. When that comes out, absolutely. But that doesn't look like it's coming until like fall
Yeah.
testing, winter
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
So that's still a ways out. But yeah, I would love to check that out. It looks really fun. And Tarkov, nothing has captured me in the way that Tarkov has captured my attention for as long as it did. Like there was a 3-year period where it was all I played. It was like the only game installed on my computer. I would not like touch anything else. And it's sadly been uninstalled for a little while now. So I want to I want to love you, Tarkov. Just
You know, it's so funny about that is I was watching It's Reefy the other day,
yeah.
and lo and behold, Yoinks showed up.
No way.
Yeah, Yoinks
Oh
showed
my
up.
god! Blast from the
And
past. That's
yeah, he had
unreal.
a very similar like he redeemed that he was gonna bring Reef a kit, and then he was like, I don't even have it installed. It hasn't been installed for so long. But he said he'd come back if they set up a Rust server. He said he'd take some time off and he'd come back
Oh no
and play
way.
some Rust. So,
Oh, that'd be cool to see.
maybe Yoinks will show up. You never
I
know.
uh, I hope he's absolutely crushing it as a real. I think he's in real estate, right? Like
Yeah. Yep. In
I hope
Vegas.
he's doing great with that. I wish him all the best, man. He's great.
Yeah, and I think he's gonna try and come out, a couple nights for TwitchCon. So
Cool. You're going. I'm not going to be able to get there, but
I
I'm super
don't
jealous.
know the man. I the tickets for TwitchCon are so expensive.
Yeah,
They're
I part of me
so
would just like
expensive.
not even go to the event itself, just like rent an Airbnb
Hang out
and
with
like go to
people,
the parties afterwards. Like
right?
that's just
Yeah.
hang out at the
Yeah.
pool all day.
I think the other thing that's kind of got me hesitant is I don't think it's gonna be like San Diego, because the strip is so much bigger than the Gaslamp District.
Yeah,
And the Gaslamp District was you just walked everywhere. But in Vegas, like there's going to be people who are staying in Old Vegas. There's going to be people who are staying on the Strip, and I think it's going to be a lot more disjointed, um,
definitely.
which I think is a bane to Twitch, because part of the TwitchCon is like realizing that even though you're in one small section of like Tarkov, or whatever group you claim as like your main game, like you start to realize, oh, this is actually a much bigger thing. There's a lot more, like I'm part of a much bigger
Yeah,
community.
yeah,
And I think that really is, to me, with all of the like shitty things Twitch is doing, that really is kind of the driving factor for what keep a lot of people there.
yeah. Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of things wrong with Twitch, right? We know that, and like it's. I mean, obviously, like I'm not going to sit here and stand up for like its morals or values or whatever, but the people that we've met and the communities that we've been part of through Twitch, like they've brought so much joy to my life, and I'm so grateful for like the community aspect of it. Even though there's obviously some parts of Twitch that don't align with my values, and I don't know if I want my kids watching if I had kids one day.
Yeah, no, I agree. So you talked about BattleBit. You've been playing that. Is there anything?
Yeah,
And DayZ. You said you jumped into
a bit,
DayZ for a little
a
while.
little bit of Daisy, yeah.
So other than your trash TV, what else are you watching or playing?
That's it really. I played a fair bit of BattleBit, and that's like my primary game right now. Um, no other games. I mean, as I mentioned, I'm a huge sports fan, so I consume all the sports, and I've been getting out and playing a little bit too. And so I haven't been watching a whole lot. I mean, if you want to ask like what specifically I've been watching, I'm binge watching Vanderpump Rules. Uh,
Okay. Okay. All right,
so
sure.
yeah, look, it's a lot of fun to watch.
Hey, I don't listen. I don't judge what people watch. Just it's entirely your choice. Whatever brings you joy,
Mhm.
as long as it's not hurting anybody. You know. Um. So, if you were in some magical world to come back to content creation in some way, shape, or form, how would you approach that? With
Wow.
just the way that the environment is right now. And I will tell you, so before this, I actually did a podcast with Will Des. His is the one that came out right before yours.
Let's
And
go.
we talked a little bit about the way he has been evolving his content and like what the
Mm,
next steps are. And
yeah.
he said, if I were to start over, then I would do a lot less streaming and a lot more recording, like
Mm,
pre-recorded content, or I would be using my streams to make shorts and things like that a lot more than what he initially started out. And in fact, I don't know if you saw his. He made a tweet the other day that he finished recording his first metal detecting stream.
I watched that. It was so fun. I watched part of that. I can't believe you did that, but it's so great.
Yeah, but
Anybody
it
who
also
doesn't, yeah,
it feels so Wildez, right? Like it is so much like his personality really shines through there.
totally. And that's the type of stuff that he should be doing. He's so good at that, and I would love to do IRL content. I think if I was going to start over, that's what I'd do. And like IRL streams, I would love to be like a travel IRL streamer. Just even in my own city or around here, like I love the idea of exploring a new area or exploring somewhere I'm familiar with and showing it off to people. Um, and I don't know how I would. I suppose I would probably primarily do that on Twitch. I'm not sure what I would do in terms of recorded content with that. Um, but I think having like building YouTube as well, because YouTube is the second biggest search platform on the web. Um, I definitely think I would want to involve YouTube in some way. So I'm not. I haven't thought that through at all, and I'm not sure if that'll ever happen. But if I was starting over with content creation, I think that's something I would want to do. I think that'd be really fun, and Will Des would be like with his with his metal detecting streams would be my role model for that. I love that.
I'll be honest. I think people would watch a vlog that you did. I think you have that kind of like personality where like if you were to vlog about your city, your favorite, taco spot or your favorite whatever,
Yeah,
I think people would really enjoy that. And I think your background in journalism would really pay off there because you could provide a lot more like history and background to the places that you go.
absolutely. I think that's a good point, and maybe I will once I get settled. Once I get my license in counseling and I'm settled into my job. Maybe that's something that I'll start doing again. But
All right, Tarkov
I,
reporter's coming back, confirmed. We already know.
oh man, that would be fun. That would be fun. I would love that. But
I'd
yeah,
watch. I'd
I
watch. I would definitely
thank
watch.
you, thank you. I appreciate that. I love podcasting too. Like this is what we're doing right now is just so fun for me, and I would love to start like a mental health podcast. And and I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of them out there, so I want to find a specific niche within that. But something that would align with my work would be really cool to do too.
I would listen to that podcast. I guess what I'm saying is no matter what you would do, I would watch. So
I appreciate that.
I will be honest, like I had been listening to a lot of podcasts before I started this one, and then when I started this one, it has been some of the most fun
Yeah,
I have ever had creating
yeah.
content.
I totally agree. Yeah,
It's
this is so
just
fun.
it's so different than streaming, and I get why podcasting became such a hit
Mm.
as fast as it did. And I'm on the tail end of it. Like everybody has a podcast anymore, but like I get why.
Yeah, no, I've been listening to podcasts since like maybe like 2006 on my like iPod Mini.
Yeah.
Like it's I just love the format. It's such a great way to like consume news or sports content or entertainment content. It's really like, especially if you get the right people. And I think you're a great person to run a podcast like this because of your personality and because of your like how you connect with
Appreciate that.
people.
Yeah. I
And
appreciate that.
no, like you're this is it's so much fun, and I hope more people get on the podcast train. And I know it's like it's gotten pretty big, so I don't know if there's space for it to get bigger, but I think there's definitely room for it. At least.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. I don't know, like it's so weird to like reach out to people and just be like, hey, do you want to be on a podcast? When there
Yeah,
are like so many podcasts out there that people can be on. And like that is such a mental hurdle that I struggle with. But like I'm so glad that I started doing it.
totally. It's kind of the same thing as like reaching out to ask people to play duos with you or something, right? And that's co-streaming.
Yeah.
Like it's a little bit nerve wracking at first. Like, does this person even want to? But I think a lot of people love sharing their stories and love talking about like streaming or whatever interests them, and they don't have much of an outlet for that. And if they're a streamer or if they're a content creator in some way, like they probably want to talk about the stuff that interests them. Like they literally do it on their stream. So um, I think that I think there's a space for this in the world, and I'm glad you're reaching out to people like Will Des. Like I love seeing Will Des content, and more people need to be exposed to his stuff. So hopefully, more people can learn about him through you.
I
He's
think
fucking
I think
amazing.
you're gonna enjoy his podcast. I think you really will. So you know we're running up against the clock here, but I
Yeah,
wanted to ask some kind of off the wall goofy questions.
love it.
So let's start with this one because I've asked almost everybody, and the answers have been wild. But if you had an evil twin, what would they be doing right now?
It took me a minute when you first. So when you sent like an outline of
Questions?
this today,
Yeah.
yeah, it took me a minute, but um, definitely like I think he would be doing something shady. Like, it would just be like some sort of shady politician, like pushing through a strip club in a small town. Uh,
He'd be using his knowledge of how people work against them rather than for them.
Absolutely. He'd be so fucking manipulative, and like he would be like taking greasy he'd be getting greased up for like doing side deals and stuff like that. He'd be in everybody's pockets. And just oh my god. And I'd be investigating him as a reporter or something like that and trying to take
Yeah.
him down. Uh, and he'd be like trying to get me fired from my job.
Yo, this is a whole ass TNT movie right now.
That'd be that would be a really cool movie. Netflix hit me up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the most detailed answer I've gotten so far, and I love it. It is the best. And I can just see like your evil twin like sitting in an office and somebody comes in and he's like, what do you want and how much are you willing to pay for it?
Totally. 100%. Yeah. I already hate this guy and I want to take him down so badly.
His fictional evil twin. He's just not okay. So let me ask you this: what would be like the visual difference between you and your evil twin? Because like in the movies, it's always like the mustache, right? The mustache is the evil twin
Okay.
guy. So
Yeah,
what
I
would
can
be
see
the
that.
what would be the visual
Probably
difference?
got like a goatee. Like he's probably like got this huge goatee. Um, I don't know what would be like the visual difference. He'd like always be wearing a suit. Um,
One of those really expensive suits that cost more than
yeah,
my house.
absolutely. And you can just like he's got like more jewelry than is like right for any human being to be wearing. He's got like $1,000 shoes. He pulls up in a limo everywhere he goes, or maybe not a limo, but he's got like a black suburban that he's got like a driver for, and maybe like security team.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. This guy he's set up and he's like connected. Like you can just when you see him, you can tell.
All right. So we know what your evil twin would be doing. Let's talk about this. Dream job outside, like just the most off the wall, crazy. If there were no limits to what you could do,
Ooh.
what would you do? Like, you could be like I want to be Captain Kirk or whatever.
Mm. I think it would be. I mean, so I'll give you like a realistic answer first, but I mean, it's not that realistic, but it's kind of like if I could be like an in-house couples therapist at like a resort somewhere like, I don't know, like somewhere super exotic and tropical and just be like, I'd be like,
Be where like
there,
like LeBron James and all the like superstar
yeah,
athletes show up and they're like, "Hey,
exactly.
listen, we just need to work on our marriage or whatever."
I'd be like the most like expensive and sought after like couples therapist in the world. I like you had to go spend time at this like all inclusive, but like this secluded resort somewhere like so be like picturesque and beautiful that I could just wake up to every day, and that'd be so nice.
Like
Um,
you own like your own island and you only see one couple at a time and they have to come and be secluded from the world
mm,
for a week and you have to work with them for a week.
yeah, that would be super cool. So that's like, I mean, not realistic, but like within what I'm doing, but like
Sure.
not realistic. I would say like I want to go to space and explore the universe. Like I want to like go to planets where like time changes different, like in Interstellar.
Sure.
Like,
Interstellar, yeah. Yeah.
I
I
want to
like
like
that.
I feel like I was born in the wrong time. Like I want
Explore
to
the unknown.
yeah, like 1,000 years from now when we're maybe we aren't even there 1,000 years from now. But
Well,
I
I
want
mean, if
yeah.
we're not here either. So like, at the rate we're going, we're not existing anymore if we're not off this planet.
Strong point. Strong point. Yeah.
Which so I had a follow-up question. It was not really a follow-up question, but another question, but I feel like you've already answered it. I'm going to ask it anyway. Would you rather be in a fantasy world or a sci-fi world?
Definitely a sci-fi world. Like I love space travel. Um, I love the idea that we could live on a different planet in a different part of the universe someday that we don't even know exists right now. Um, and that's just so interesting to me. So just like exploring that world and like games like No Man's Sky have always been
I
interesting to me.
love No Man's Sky.
Um, and hopefully Starfield, please be good. Oh, please be good, Starfield.
I always cringe when somebody brings up Starfield because I'm like, oh no.
I want it to be good so badly. I've always wanted Star Citizen to be good, but it's just so buggy and like
Mm-hmm.
it's
When it
so far from the
works,
vision. The vision of Star Citizen is like it's so expansive, and it's nowhere near that, and it's so disappointing. Oh damn.
I will be honest. I love Smashley's shorts where she's just flying and doing tricks in Star Citizen because they're like they're planet side, and it's her and her wingman, and they're like flipping around each other, and it's the best. And I know if I tried it, I would spend so much money on ships because I would crash every time.
Yeah, it's such a cool game, and the concept of it is amazing. I just wish it were more fleshed out, and it's probably too expensive for that ever to achieve its vision.
Yeah,
So that's too
feels like Duke Nukem,
bad.
which is sad.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you had to pick one horror movie bad guy, so like vampires or zombies or ghosts or Jason or Freddy, who would you want to go up against?
Like, who do I think I stand a chance against?
Yeah,
Or
who
like,
do you think you stand a chance against?
oh my god! Like, do I have weapons, or like, what's the deal here?
You are you.
Okay.
So if you can make it, to a place where there are weapons, you can use weapons, but you don't have any like advanced skills. You don't have any training in weaponry. Who do you think you would? Maybe not. Who do you think you could beat? But who do you think you could survive against the longest?
Okay. Wow. That's so tough. I'm also not much like a horror person, so I don't have much frame of reference for this, but um and I live in Canada too, so like access to like guns and stuff is not good. Um
So you got to find something that you could beat with like a sword or holy water.
we got a lot of holy water, but like I don't know if there's going to be replenished very often. So I'd be worried about how long I could survive off my holy water stash from like the
Sure,
local
yeah,
church.
yeah.
Uh,
That's a concern. I never really thought about like what would you do if you were in a post-apocalyptic world and you were being haunted? Like
oh,
you'd have no access to holy water because somebody would
no,
have drank it. And then it's like, do I use the holy water on the ghosts or do I drink it? Because I need water.
obviously you drink it. You need to survive. Um,
Then does that make
you
you
gotta keep a priest alive, right? You've got to keep some sort of holy person alive. That you must protect them at all costs, so they can just bless. Like that, you can like
bless water?
filter your urine and then bless that or something. I don't know.
Oh, I love it. That's the now I want that. I need that as a movie now. I need that as a movie now. I never
We've
thought
got a
of
lot
that,
of
but that's
movie
such a
ideas out
good
of this
that's
podcast today,
such a
man.
good movie idea. Yeah, but who do you think?
I don't know if it's the heat or I'm just feeling delirious right now. I don't know who I choose. I choose the ghost idea because that seems like a really fun movie. So I choose that, being
The
haunted. We'll
ghost?
go with that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think I have taken enough of your time, and you have given me so much great conversation. It has been an honor and a joy and a pleasure to talk with you and to find out what you're doing post streaming because there's you and Yoinks and Endra's even pulling out a little bit like
Yeah, that's sad to see
there's
too. Yeah.
there's so
Mhm.
many people who are finding what it is that they want to do beyond content creation. And I think for a lot of people who get into content creation, they feel like they don't have anywhere else to go.
Yeah, and it can be really difficult to move away from it. But there's a lot of life out there to explore, and I really encourage people to, as we've mentioned before, try everything once and see what fits with you in your life because you never know what you're going to enjoy. And there's some amazing things out there, and I'm just grateful to have the opportunity to share my story with you, Panda. Thanks for inviting me, man. It means a lot. And yeah, I miss the content creation community. Um, I miss everybody that I've ever had the chance to interact with through that. So if anybody's watching that's interacted with me before, I love and miss you, and I hope we can chat soon. And Panda, I hope we can chat again soon too, man. I've loved this.
Listen, you're coming back. I'm gonna get you back after you kind of settled in into your new job and check up on you, make sure that you're enjoying what you're doing still. And um, do you have any? You gave shout outs earlier. Do you have anybody else you'd like to shout out or any last words for anybody?
Last words, I think, because I did my shout outs already. But if you're struggling out there, feel like you need help in life, therapy is there, and it can be such a positive experience in your life too. I know there's stigma around it, especially for men, and um, I can speak firsthand. Like going to therapy myself was really powerful for me and changed my life for the better. So if you're struggling, if you need support, there are mental health hotlines out there that are totally free. There are student counselors who provide low cost and even free counseling too. And just find a counselor that you connect with. They'll often do like free consultations so you can get to know them a little bit, and find somebody you connect with, because that's the most important part, that you connect and trust and feel comfortable in the space where you're going to be super vulnerable. And doing that can really have a positive impact on your life. So try it out. I really encourage that.
And if you don't find someone you connect with, find somebody else. Like, don't feel
Mm,
like just because you found
yeah,
one and you're like, oh, this didn't work out.
yeah,
Like, you're not gonna click with you don't click with everybody in your regular life. It's silly to assume that you're gonna click with everybody, in a professional standing. So
100%, 100%. That's so right. Do as many of those consultations as you can. Um, just see who's out there. You're gonna find that there are some really cool counselors, who you vibe with. I guarantee it.
perfect. Well, chat, I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have. I'm gonna leave you with the same thing I leave you every time, which is be good to yourself and be kind to those around you. And um, have a wonderful rest of your day. And we'll see you in the next podcast.